What you are about to experience is out of this world. Politics, history, and of course, a lot of entertainment. It's time to rock it with the Docket.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with our very 138th episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. And if you are excited to be here as well, make sure to go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, so then you never miss one of my videos. So for years now, the left has been telling us that the right is full of racists, and only the right has extremist groups that promote racism and anti-Semitism. Now, it is true that there are some groups on the right that are terrible and should be disavowed, which, yes, I've already done that multiple times. For me and many others on the right, we are able to call out these groups and claim that they are terrible people and they have the wrong ideas. On the right, we can claim that these racists don't represent our true values. They aren't real conservatives. Groups like the Proud Boys were called out by people from both the left and the right. This was because they were being anti-Semitic, they were white nationalists that were causing violence in the streets. While radical left groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter were heavily praised by the media. If you were on the left, you supported these different groups. No one on the left disavowed these different groups. Of course, the left supported Black Lives Matter and Antifa. To the left, they were justified because they were fighting for the freedom of minorities. These groups were allowed to be violent because they were literally fighting Nazis. But now the left has a big problem on their hands because the group that they supported, the group that they thought was morally right, the group that they had to support or they would be called a racist, are now turning into a racist group themselves. This has become more evident after the attacks on Israel last week and the war that is continuing to rage on, as it looks like BLM is in support of Hamas paragliders that went into Israel and killed innocent women and children. As a day after the attack on Israel, the official Black Lives Matter of Chicago posted this disgusting picture of a paraglider with a Palestinian flag with the words, "I stand with Palestine" on the bottom. Now, this picture was very shocking. I mean, could you imagine after 9/11 a radical group posted a picture of an airplane claiming that they stood with Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden? Like, how can anyone support Black Lives Matter after this? Well, sadly for BLM, after the backlash, they had to take down the post. And they also had to apologize on Twitter. As they wrote, "Yesterday we sent out a message that we aren't proud of. We stand with Palestine and the people who will do what they must to live free. Our hearts are with the grieving mothers, those rescuing babies from rubble who are in danger of being wiped out completely." So they apologized, but it really wasn't a real apology, as they are still supporting the terrorists of Hamas. They didn't say, hey, the violence that happened to Israelis was absolutely terrible. No, they are saying that Israel retaliating after a terrorist attack was the bad part. Even though we are all aware that Hamas uses children as human shields, which I find absolutely disgusting and disgraceful. Along with that, other BLM chapters jumped in on this too, as BLM LA posted pictures on Instagram supporting the people of Palestine and the murder of Israeli citizens. As one of these posts said, as the world grapples with fundamental questions about self-determination and the collective longing for a peaceful world, we must firmly stand in solidarity with the oppressed. In the face of decades of apartheid and unimaginable violence, we should not condemn their resistance, but view it as a desperate act of self-defense. Well, I didn't know that killing Jewish men, women, and children was self-defense. I thought it was called terrorism. Along with that, the leader of the BLM chapter in Los Angeles, named Melina Abdullah, reposted a tweet from the People's City Council which claimed, "From the river to the sea, solidarity always." Do you know what "to the river to the sea" means? It means that these groups of people want to see the state of Israel absolutely wiped out. If this phrase were to come to life, then it would mean that Jews would be slaughtered. If Palestine were to take over the region and terrorists like Hamas were able to reign free, there would be no Jews left. It would be a genocide just like the Holocaust. So I'm willing to say that this statement from the river to the sea is supporting anti-Semitism, and it is disgusting that these groups are okay with that. Then there was the BLM chapter in Indianapolis that posted a enclosed fist with the words, "by any means necessary." Once again, by any means necessary means the killing of innocent Jewish people. Once again, Black Lives Matter is showing their true colors. There is no way on earth that this type of language would be acceptable to any other group of people. But apparently because it's the Jews, it is allowed and promoted. If, for example, there was a group of people calling for the extermination of black people, that would rightfully be unacceptable and people would get very angry about it. Maybe people would protest that group on the streets, and I would support that. And if there were groups of people posting images on social media of people being lynched, and they also said that they supported segregation, do you know how quickly that group would be labeled a terrorist organization, and rightfully so? How quickly the Anti-Defamation League would release a statement claiming that black people aren't safe in America with this group around. My question is, are Jewish people safe in places that have a large Jewish population? Like in New York, where there are huge segments of Black Lives Matter there. Especially when there are leaders in Hamas and around the world calling for jihad, aka killing of the Jews, all over the world. When does this hatred stop? And the sad thing is that all of this money that BLM got from 2020 onward could have been supporting terrorism. Now, you all remember the story of how Black Lives Matter came into prominence. As back in 2020, after the death of George Floyd, BLM was absolutely on fire. They were raking in the dough. Average American celebrities and corporations gave huge donations to this organization. And if people did their research, they might have known that BLM was supporting Palestine in the past, but at the time it didn't matter because the current issue was George Floyd. Now, I remember BLM being everywhere. When I was trying to watch an NFL football game, the end zone said "end racism," and players were allowed to put Black Lives Matter on the back of their helmets. Along with that, the NBA did the exact same thing, writing Black Lives Matter on the court, and also allowing players to put Black Lives Matter where their last name should be, which didn't really make any sense. Oh, here comes dribbling down the court, Russell, Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm saying this because Black Lives Matter has become a cultural phenomenon. Their ideas were splashed on our TV screens, and now we can see that their hateful ideas about Jewish people are being supported on college campuses throughout the country. As last week we talked about different Ivy League colleges showing support to Hamas. This included a letter from Harvard and other student organizations claiming that the terrorist attack was Israel's fault. And Harvard in particular got a lot of hate for this, and many people were calling for these students to be suspended. However, the principal, named Claudine Gray, had a different idea, as she pushed back against this idea and claimed that the school embraces a commitment to free expression, which is very refreshing. I am glad that they are allowing free speech. However, there's a problem. Harvard was named one of the worst schools for free speech. The school earned a 0.00 points out of 100 when it came to free speech. They didn't even get a point. So why is it that this school attacks different controversial opinions from professors and researchers, as some have even been threatened to get fired, but they won't go after people that have opinions that support a terrorist attack? Well, it is because the school agrees with these different protesters that are supportive of Hamas. Along with that, the higher-ups at Harvard are scared that if they take action on the students, then the students will tear down the entire school and they'll burn it to the ground, which is sad. This moral dilemma also came up at Washington University, as there was a huge rally at the school with flyers supporting a group called SUPER, aka Students United for Palestinian Equality and Return. The flyer also featured a graphic of one of the paragliders that killed innocent Israeli citizens. As the students were chanting, someone was able to get an interview with a Jewish student who was crying and claiming, "They want to kill our people. They want us killed," along with her expressing, "How are you allowing this? Please end this, please," talking about these different protests. Here's the thing. I think that these students that are pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, and pro-terrorists are stupid, but I don't want them to be shut up by anyone because their speech helps us out. As now we know exactly who these people are. We know who the anti-Semitics are. And we know who supports terrorism. These people are now saying the quiet part out loud. We know who we are against. We can see it in front of our eyes with different videos that these people are posting. We can also see that these different students are literally using 1930s German talking points when it comes to Jewish people. Here's a video of what the protesters were chanting at Washington University. No peace on stolen land, and there's only one solution. Guess what? According to the Nazis in the 1930s, there was only one solution to the Jewish problem, and that was the final solution, which meant that all the Jewish people needed to die. Listen, I will tell you right now, most of these left-leaning groups would have fit greatly in Nazi Germany. And if Hitler were around today, he would probably agree with all of these different student protests against the Jews. The thing is, these different lefties don't even comprehend what they are saying. They are saying things like, from the river to the sea. Yeah, that means killing Jews. There is only one solution. Yeah, that means killing Jews. But I like that these people are able to say these different things because now we can point it out and we can say, look at those people. They are hateful. Do you really want to align yourself with Black Lives Matter when they support anti-Semitic crap like that? It is disgusting, and someone needs to let them know that they are going down a very, very dangerous path. And I also find it funny, too, how these different Palestinian protests have rainbow flags in them. Palestine doesn't support gay marriage. More than likely, if you go over to Palestine and you're gay, you will probably be killed. Now, this rhetoric has been justified by a Palestinian supporter in Dearborn, Michigan, which has a very large population of Muslims and apparently people that support Hamas. He was giving a speech about how people should support Black Lives Matter because apparently at their rallies, they have Palestinian flags and white nationalists have Israeli flags. Just take a look at this, it's stupid.
So don't let them get it twisted. This is not complicated. When you go to a Black Lives Matter rally, you see Palestinian flags. When you go to a white supremacy rally, you see Israeli flags. This is not complicated. When Zionists march down the street, they say death to Arabs. When we march down the street, we say free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. This is not difficult, everybody.
Okay, first question. What white nationalist groups has this guy been to? Is he talking about the one in Charlottesville where men had torches claiming that Jews will not replace us? Not kill all Arabs, they didn't like the Jews. Along with that, many white nationalist groups across the country were in support of the Hamas attacks. This is why they call themselves neo-Nazis, because they subscribe to the evil ideology of Hitler. And guess what? So does Black Lives Matter. It looks like these two groups can finally agree on something that is terrible and disgusting. Apparently, according to them, killing Jews is A-okay. These people are radicals and absolutely wild with their different beliefs. But once again, they should be allowed to be said, so then we can actually see who the hate-filled people are. Now, as the left supports Hamas, the American government has begun to support Israel a little bit to the extreme, and there's a real chance that this war could escalate further. As recently, the United States has sent warships over to the waters of Israel, and now we are deciding to send 2,000 U.S. troops to Israel. According to the government, this is just for support, but what would happen if a missile from Hezbollah or Hamas kills an American soldier? Does this mean that we are in another Ukraine situation where we are funneling money to one country? But don't worry, guys. According to the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, we can afford both the Ukraine war and the war in the Middle East, even though gas prices are high and we have record-breaking inflation. I'm sure that we can afford it. Man, I can just hear those money machines running now. Along with that, I believe that there are some on the right side of the aisle that want to see this situation escalate into a war with other countries that really aren't even involved. They're kind of on the back burner. As recently, Lindsey Graham has come out and claimed that if Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran, launches a missile attack on Israel, and along with that, he said, I will introduce a resolution in the United States Senate to allow military action by the United States in conjunction with Israel to knock Iran out of the oil business. Iran, if you escalate this war, we're coming for you. Whoa, 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 whoa. Take it easy, man. I understand that Israel has a right to defend itself from terrorist attacks, but bombing Iran will escalate this too far. We don't need this to be a forever war. We need Israel to defend itself, and that's it. Along with that, Ben Shapiro, who I am a fan of, has been a little bit too extreme on this situation. Now, I get it because it's personal to him. He's Jewish, and he also has family in Israel, but this situation cannot escalate like this. As on his show, he mentioned that if Israel is backed into a corner, there's a possibility of nuclear exchange. If you want World War III, this is how you are going to get it. Honestly, I don't want war. I don't want there to be innocent men, women, and children dying on both sides. I am sick and tired of all these different war games. It is time for both parties in America to get a level head and figure something out. America can still support Israel with funds, but that doesn't mean that we are going to bomb Iran or use nuclear weapons, which is stupid. Along with that, the radical ideology on the left needs to calm down. I am glad that they are revealing who they really are inside, but what they are doing is hateful and will lead to their groups to be destroyed because no one wants to be associated with a group that agrees with what Hitler believed in, or a group of people that wants to carpet bomb the Middle East with nukes just because we can. We need a level head in this situation because we don't need it to escalate and we don't want to see a World War III situation. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.
These last few days have been a real eye-opening period for a lot of people, a lot of Democrats, a lot of progressives, in terms of anti-Semitism on the left. A lot of people who seem more shocked at dehumanizing language used by world leaders to describe Hamas than what Hamas actually perpetrated on Saturday.